Morning all, welcome back. It's 4 a.m. Been out since about 3:30. Out with both first today. So hope you're all well. Today's chat is about COVID, and this is my story on COVID, which I'd like to share. But before I get onto that, done a video on Heathrow Airport, which ended up having a couple of good chats with people, which was really interesting. And one of them, a guy, I'm assuming Graham, had a good chat with him, and I learnt something, to be honest. I mentioned a few times about I'm not a conspiracy theorist and whatnot, and I think I was just worried that people thinking I'm a bit of a nut job, which I'm not. I'm not into these crazy theories and whatnot, but quite rightly he pointed out that we need to ask questions because we are kept in the dark a lot, and it doesn't necessarily mean that you're a conspiracy theorist because you're asking a question. So I suppose in one way that's what I was getting at with the video on Heathrow. Thanks for that, Graham. Very interesting conversation with you, and you were nice, which is good. That's what I want. I don't need any arguments. There's enough going on in this crazy world at the minute with arguing with people. So thanks for that. That was a good video. And it's a good response, so really appreciate that. So right, gonna crack on with the walk with Bosie Dog, grab stills, and I'll be back with the first part. See you in a bit. Hi guys, so welcome back. I'm out with the boy, Stills. He wants a biscuit, that's why he's staring at me like that. Here you go, mate. There you go. So clocks went forward yesterday, so I'm not sure how light it's going to be when I take Honey out. Tell you all about my experience with COVID and the build up and the shutdown. It was a funny old time. I'm in the air freight business, and it's amazing how quick it affected the world and shipping. So I'm gonna crack on with my walk with Stills. Hopefully it's gonna be light enough where I can actually talk direct, but I'm not sure. I know last week about 6 a.m. it was quite light, and looking at the sky now, I think it's going to be still too dark, but we'll wait and see. Fingers crossed. I might have a cup of coffee before I get Honey out, and then with any luck that'll be enough time, and at least I can chat properly. So I'll be back soon with Honey and tell you my story of COVID and not being furloughed. I wasn't one of them ones which was that fortunate or unfortunate? Not really sure, but we'll chat about that in a bit. See you in a bit. Hi guys, so welcome back. I'm on my last walk now with Honey. As you can see, it is light enough, which I'm quite pleased about. I didn't have a cup of coffee in the end. I just thought, nah, I'll just get out. So I did. Here I am. So thought I'd talk about my experience with COVID on my Life of Paul Dogs and running page. So my story is mainly work based and mental based, I suppose. So the industry I'm in is air freight, and we deal with quite important stuff, which goes around the world, medical stuff. So it sort of started off in the late January, before the lockdown, when there was bits of sort of rumbles of COVID going around. And the first thing I noticed was trying to get stuff into China. All flights were being cancelled, and it was just really difficult to get anything into China, like really difficult. It was just bizarre. You know, I've been in this industry, God, since I was 17, and I would have been then about 48, 49. Not working it out this time in the morning at 6:15. And it's something I'd never seen before. And yeah, they were talking about COVID and whatnot, and you know, the chatter around the UK was just like, yeah, it's just a flu, blah blah blah. And I remember going on a run with some friends. There was about 6 of us, you know, and it was brought up about COVID and sort of dismissed. And I was like, guys, there's genuinely something in this, you know. I've never ever seen a country closed down like this before, with flights and stuff like that. You know, I genuinely think there's something in this. And they're like, no, it's just a flu, blah blah blah. And I was like, okay, but guys, this isn't normal, and it's never happened within the time I've been working in the industry. So no, sort of time went on. China literally went into like their shutdown. All the because it was Chinese New Year, all these people trying to move, this mass movement of people from China wanting to be with their families and all that, because obviously Chinese New Year is huge. Fast forward then to March beginning, or I think it's about the second week of March. I had 12 days off holiday, and I had I think the first Sunday off at the beginning of the holiday, I had a half marathon. And again, it was very bizarre, because a lot of runners do spit. Me personally, I'm not one of them. I think it's disgusting, but I can understand why some people do. And I actually remember thinking myself, like, oh God, like, you know, should I be breathing this in? Can you sort of spit somewhere else? And trying to sort of keep my mouth shut and sort of stuff like that, you know, because obviously we was being spoon-fed certain bits of information and whatnot. And anyway, that was that. Half marathon's done. It was a great day. Went out for dinner with some friends, and then literally my wife and I was shut away, you know, because we was enjoying our holiday. We was, you know, at home, which we normally do because of the dogs. We don't really go away, so we was literally like shut away. And we kept hearing the news about people stockpiling toilet roll and pasta and all this sort of stuff, and we just thought like, oh, you know, what's going on here? You know, we was, like I said, we was a little bit in a bubble, I suppose. And then it must have been quite late in that week, I actually popped over to Tesco's. It was other supermarkets are available, and the atmosphere was just bizarre. You know, people just seemed so angry, because I'm quite a happy person, you know, even when I'm going through a down stage and or whatnot, you know, I'm quite a happy person and I'm extremely polite. And the anger on people, and it was just like the whole supermarket just felt dread, like just this heavy dread, you know. And I'd literally just got what I needed and left, and it was just bizarre. And I remember speaking to my wife and saying how horrid that experience was around the supermarket, you know, how everybody just seemed so on edge and angry, and it was just bizarre. I'd never ever sort of seen anything like that before, you know. I remember with my trolley, and this guy just headed straight towards me. He's like, I'm not budging. And his wife behind, when they passed me, she sort of looked at me with this sort of sense of like, sorry. And it was just like, why are you guys so angry, you know? And the toilet paper thing, to be honest, was very bizarre, because I'd never had a cold, which made me have a lot of poos, but very weird. Do you know what I mean? You know, what's wrong with a freaking flannel? So anyway, that was that. Didn't need to go out again. Now, my wife works for a supermarket. She went back to work on the Monday, and you know, she was getting on, you know, oh God, I'm trying to think how old she would have been. About 55, I'd say, at the time. And she was coming home from the supermarket absolutely exhausted, because people were just so rude to her, you know, and other members of staff, and she was getting accusations of food hiding, and you've got stuff in the back, bring it out, you know. And my wife's not an angry, horrible person, you know, and she used to come home, and seeing her so exhausted was sad. So sad. So anyway, you know, I tried to keep her going. And on the Friday before Boris's lockdown, I think it was my first day back from the holiday. I rocked up to work at 5 o'clock on the Friday morning with this, I don't know what I expected, to be honest. I already knew that half the staff had been sent home to work from home, but us on the shop floor, what I call it, you know, the people which deal on the physical part of it, etc., we had to be there. So I walked in, and everybody was in a bit of a sense of confusion. And, you know, I'm trying to reassure people, and obviously in my head I'm thinking, what the bloody hell's going on here myself? Anyway, as that day went on, we're trying to get freight out, and either airlines were shutting down, borders were shutting down. We'd just never ever seen anything like it. It was just mayhem, to be honest. And I actually ended up, so I say I got in at 5 o'clock in the morning. I ended up not leaving work until 6 o'clock the following Saturday night. I ended up working 36 hours, just trying to get freight moving, trying to find flights, etc. It was just balmy, utter balmy. I got into work at 4 o'clock on the Sunday morning, so I'd already done 36 hours straight. Got into work on the Sunday morning, 4 o'clock in the morning, same thing. I was on my own, still loads of freight trying to get out. And I remember speaking to a lady from one of the major airlines, and she had a young family, you know, and was talking about how scary all this is, you know, because it's just unprecedented. None of us had seen anything like it. And we was talking about family and sort of stuff like that. Anyway, she managed to get me a shipment booked on a flight. If I remember rightly, it was going to Bangladesh, but don't quote me on that. And I was pleased. I thought, at least I've got a bit of freight out the door. And then next minute, I think within the hour, that particular airline had grounded every single flight worldwide. And we're talking a major airline. Every single flight was grounded. So all these poor people, cabin crew, were just stuck in the wrong countries and all this sort of stuff. And this lady who I was chatting to, within the hour, basically had no job. And my heart went out to her, popped her an email, wishing her luck, and you know, let's hope things get sorted pretty quick. Anyway then, so I think I left work about 6 o'clock that night. It's about 14 hours again. Monday, I was back in, 5 o'clock in the morning. Same thing, absolute mayhem. Everybody's running around. Most of the building's empty apart from us on the shop floor, warehouse teams, transport teams, us in operations. And the same thing, we all just trying so hard, so much pressure. And 7 o'clock that evening, I'm still there. Everybody went quiet. Boris done his speech, basically said, yeah, guys, you had your chance. We kept asking you all to stay at home. You haven't. COVID's spreading. So we're shutting down. That's it. And I remember on the Sunday, because it was Mother's Day as well, and I thought, I can't go and see Mum. I just can't take that risk, you know. She's had cancer a few times, she's got a heart issue, and I can't take that risk, you know. I spoke to her on the phone, you know, and I thought, oh, you people, we kept being told to stay at home and try not to mix with big groups, and you didn't do it, and here we are, country's shut down. So 7 o'clock that night, Boris done his speech, and country's shut down. That's it. I think I left work midnight that night or just before. I took a colleague home and it was just empty. The roads was just empty. It was the most surreal drive I think I've ever had. It was just weird. And I think, you know, I've driven obviously on quiet roads, you know, we all have, but I think put into that COVID and shutdown and nobody's now allowed out, just put a different spin on the quietness, I suppose. So I think I got home, trying to think now, about midnight. I'd hardly seen my wife for 4 days. She was obviously already in bed. She starts work at 5 in the morning. And I remember just sitting there at the kitchen table, my head just exploding with so many questions, trying to compute what had just happened over the 4 days of work. And there was no way I was going to sleep. There was no way. My brain was just going boom. And I remember speaking to or messaging my wife's son or sons and just saying to them, look, guys, please keep in touch with your mum. You know, she's working at the supermarket. She's under so much pressure. You know, people are just being horrible. And that was that. And she got up about 4 o'clock in the morning. I'm still sitting at the kitchen table. So another 24 hours or so I've been up. And I was still sitting at the kitchen table. She walked in, looked at me, what are you still doing up? And I just burst into tears. I just couldn't stop crying. I think the pressure of that weekend, them 4 days, the pressure of trying to keep my team together, trying to keep their morale up, the worry about my wife, my family, and it just got to me and I just burst into tears, you know. And from then it's very, very weird, to be honest, because work was horrendous, and it was horrendous for months, trying to get flights, trying to get freight out, and we were sort of part of that group of companies which was allowed to keep working. So I'm one of them ones which wasn't furloughed. So yeah, so it's two things. So one, work. I mean, the pressure was just immense. But then on the other side of that, I loved lockdown. I'm sorry, but I loved lockdown. I loved the peace, the quiet, the weather changed, the roads, there wasn't this drum of traffic all the time, which you can probably hear in the background. It was just quiet. Everywhere just felt clean. It was, both my wife and I mean, apart from the downside of struggling to see family, we just loved it. Seriously. And going out for runs in the morning and no traffic, no people. Honestly, it was just the best feeling. And I suppose because of the pressures of work, having my 4 days off because of shift work and being able to actually relax properly was just, yeah, it was just amazing. The weather literally on the Tuesday after lockdown just changed. It was just perfect, not a cloud in the sky. It's like nature was rejuvenating itself, you know. And it's weird, you know. I have this feeling now inside that I think the whole world once a year should have a lockdown, just to let nature rejuvenate itself and give itself chance to breathe again. It's never going to happen, obviously, but to me, yeah, the world should have a lockdown once a year, you know, whether it's a week, whether it's a month, and just let the earth rejuvenate. And I think that might give our little planet a bit more of a chance, possibly, I don't know. What do I think of furlough? Now that's a weird one, because in some ways, for people within certain industries, especially the entertainment, it was a godsend. Obviously they had no work because all entertainment had stopped. So yeah, furlough, great. It was a godsend. But in another way, for me, furlough, I feel a little bit bitter. Maybe that's selfish, I don't know, probably is selfish. But in one way, I feel a bit bitter. I mean, my wife, myself, because of the jobs we do, we had to carry on working, and we weren't furloughed. So what's happening now? Because of all the money which went out with furlough, the country's now in a bit of a mess again. And what they're doing? Taxes, cuts, and obviously not all the debt we're in, but a lot of the debt we're in, or whatever percentage, I don't know, is because of all these furlough payments. And I've got to pay for that. That's coming out of my tax as well. But I wasn't furloughed. So yeah, I got really, really mixed feelings with that, to be honest. You know, my nice side says, you know, brilliant, it was a great scheme, etc. And on my selfish side, it was like, well, I wasn't furloughed. I had no benefit of sitting at home in the gorgeous sun, in the quiet times, enjoying my walks and being paid. I had to go in, day out with all that high pressure. My wife had to deal with all them horrid people in the supermarkets who think they had a right to talk to shop floor workers like they were scum, not wearing masks. So yeah, so with furlough, mixed emotions. The jab. So I had three jabs. First one, I was really ill, proper fever, shakes. Second one, which was a different one, absolutely fine. Third one, exactly the same as the first, extremely ill, have, you know, where the fever, where you're so cold and you're shaking and you can't get warm. It was just horrendous. So I don't know, but my head was telling me had to get it done, had to do it, so I did. Still had COVID twice. Not mega ill. The first time wasn't great. I'm quite a fit person, do ultra running. I couldn't even run 5k without stopping. I couldn't breathe. Just doing my shoelaces up, I was like like that. And but I was like one of the lucky ones. There's a lot of people out there which wasn't as lucky as me, to be honest. And my heart goes out to them. You know, the nurses, absolutely amazing. I will say though, touching on one thing, all that big hoo-ha, and quite rightly so, look after your neighbours, keep an eye on your elderly, etc, etc. Watch out, look after each other, we're a team. What happens when Labour gets in? Oh, we're going to stop your winter fuel payments now. So you're okay through COVID. You can get cold now, guys. Yeah, well done, Labour. Nice one. Yeah, I think you lost a lot of brownie points and a lot of favours from that decision, guys. Not your best one. Yeah, bizarre. Another thing as well with the jab, my mum, on her 70th birthday, actually on the day I was at work, I got a phone call. She had a massive stroke. She's recovered. She's still got dodgy speech. One of her feet is numb, fingers, stuff like that. But she should not have had a stroke. She's on blood thinners, medication for her heart. And even the hospital was like, how you had a stroke? You're on blood thinners. And the weird thing is, she had the jab, which is believed to possibly, and don't quote me, I don't know, have links to brain clots, strokes. So that's something which now we're looking into, to be honest. Yeah, and we will be looking into that because like I said, she shouldn't have had a stroke. So yeah, so I remember must have been about a week after lockdown, still really emotional from work and what was going on with my wife. I remember going on a run. I was doing about 8 mile, and my brain, as per normal, was going like 100 miles an hour. And this particular song came on and it just hit me, because I'm terrible with songs and situations and stuff like that, always have been. And yeah, this song came on and I just stood there mid-run and just started crying. I think the emotion just so got to me about what was going on. And I just started crying. Just couldn't help it. Yeah, that was a very odd moment. So yeah, COVID. Do I think it was real? Yeah, I do. Personally, I do think it was real. I don't think there's anything behind it. The jab, do I think it works? Jury's out on that one. I'm not sure. Do I think farmers have made a lot of money out of it? Yeah, 100%. The time's going to tell now, isn't it? You know, is it going to come back? Well, apparently it's not really gone. But yeah, the only thing I'd change about it now, like I said earlier, I'd have a international lockdown once a year, personally. And if the other guys don't want to do it, the UK, just shut down. Even if you just do it for 2 weeks, just do a reset. We all like a reset. Reset the country. Let nature have a little chance, eh? So yeah, so that's my story on COVID. Obviously there's a lot more which went on. A lot of mistakes by the government. Biggest one, taking so long to do anything, which is typical of the UK. Furlough, lucky people who were furloughed. 3/4 of your wages for sitting at home in the sun. Boom. Not for me though. Who's paying for it now? Us lot. So yeah, mixed emotions with the furlough. The jab, yes, I think it was necessary. It's got to be, well, I felt I had to have it done. So yeah, that's my story. I hope you enjoyed listening to it. That weekend, boy, that was my worst work weekend. But yeah, I think it's been one of the ones I'll be telling my little grandson for in years to come about that weekend 5 years ago, and it's like just so clear, the emotion, everything. I can just tell you about every single part of that day or that weekend, from the time I got in to Steph getting up at 4 o'clock on the Tuesday morning. You know, every part of that. I think I've even got the text messages. Just crazy. So look, it's not over. We know COVID's not over. Little strains keep popping up again. So I will say this. Guys, please stay safe. Appreciate you all watching. I do enjoy this, actually. I do enjoy making these videos. I feel comfortable talking like this, especially outdoors, to be honest. It's I do some reviews and I find it more difficult sort of standing there like that talking than what I do when I'm walking with the dogs. You know, maybe it's because I'm an outdoors person. So guys, thanks for watching. If you want to make any comments, I will do my best to reply, but all I ask is be nice. That's all I ask. You know, everybody has their opinions and I respect people's opinions, but you know, I don't want to be rowing with people. You know, this is just my opinion and that's that, you know. So be nice. I will try and reply. I think I've replied to every comment I've had so far, and yeah, look out for the next video. So thanks for watching, guys. Stay well, stay safe, and we'll catch up again soon.